Hey guys, so I know I get a lot of questions about my 2 Betta cubes right here that I set up not too long ago, so I figured I'd make a video for it so I can point anyone who has questions here and they can get like all the information about how I set it up and what's inside. I'll start off first with the basics about the equipment and the supplies I use to set up the tank, and then I'll go into what I have stocked in there plant wise and all of that. Okay, so the tank I used are the Ultra Nature 20Cs. They are 2 gallons, and for those of you starting off with Betta tanks, I suggest going no lower than 10 gallons until you're either intermediate and expert and know about the cycle and all the plant to tank effects. And for filtration, I use sponge filters, which these ones I get from my local fish store. I think they're aquarium solutions. I hook them to U-tubes and they'll go behind the tank, and it hooks to an air pump which will aerate your water as well as filter your tanks, and it's great for smaller tanks as well. For heaters, I have them in a box right now since it's summer and it's too hot to heat the tanks, but I use the Aquascaped 50-watt heaters. They're preset to 78, which is totally fine for Bettas, and they're small and they fit in the tanks great. I will put them back once it starts getting colder, but if I put them in now, I feel like it's just gonna cook my fish. So I leave them out until it drops below like the recommended temperature. Because I don't know if you can tell right now, but I'm sweating from being in here because it's so humid. And the number one question, what do I use to light my tanks? I just use the regular desk lamps. I got these ones from Walmart and they're actually only about $5 to $6. I recently upgraded to a different one from Walmart that had a shorter dome top, so it allowed me more room to get in there, clean my tanks, and it didn't look as bulky. So I'll show you that when I get to the close-ups of the tanks, the difference between the older light and the new light. I really prefer the new one just because, like I said, it gives me a lot more room and it looks a lot better. So for basics, I'm going to tell you what substrate I used in both tanks. It's aqua soil in both of them, but this one has a sand center. I use 88 Amazonia, which I have right here, and it's my absolute favorite aqua soil. It's just amazing. So if you do decide to go with a different aqua soil, I wouldn't be able to tell you what to do with it because I haven't used different ones before. I started off with 88 and it worked for me, it works great, so that's what I've stuck with. I've also used a fluval stratum, but the thing I don't prefer about it is the pieces aren't as heavy as 88, so it's harder to get plants to grow in and stay down. Starting with this tank, I have Koke Stone that I got from Aquaforest Aquarium. The sponge filters are in the back and I usually fit the heaters back here when it does get cold enough, but they have no problem fitting, like it's the perfect size for them. So in this tank I have Pearlweed up front that I'm hoping that it'll grow in and carpet, just like this tank that I have down here. It's a perfect low-tech carpeting plant. And I also have Ludwigia back here, and those are the only plants that I have in this tank. Second tank, I have a little more variety in here. I use Koke Stone that I glued together to make a formation. I put Anubias on there, that's Anubias Nana Petite. I have Pearlweed growing higher, so it is the same plant that I have here. Dwarf Sag in the front, and Pellia moss back in the cracks, it's also called coral moss because it grows kind of coral-like, I suppose. And the lights. So this is the new light and that's the old light. So you can see the difference in sizing. Brightness-wise, it's pretty much the same. This one's priced at $10 and that one's $6, but I do prefer more space and it sometimes dips lower while I'm doing maintenance, so I do recommend this one if you guys do go with the same light. And I also have the sponge filters in the back. They'll aerate as well. I just didn't have them on now because it makes a lot of sound. It kind of drowns out everything. So I'll plug it in for you guys so you guys can see how it functions. So all 3 of these tanks, the 2 here and the one I have on top, they're hooked to the same air pump, which I have right here, and it's connected to a gang valve that'll aerate all of them. So it's easier for multiple tanks if you want to filter them all, and especially if they're smaller. I forgot to cover this, but a lot of people ask if I have lids, and I do. I make them out of the, it's like a canvas for yarn or threading, I think. And I just cut it to the specific size of tank, and you can cut out holes for wiring too, so it fits perfect. So I know pictures on Instagram don't do everything justice, so I'll get some footage of the tanks and you guys can see up close or how everything moves and how everything functions. But from there I'll just play some background music and you guys can enjoy the tanks. Bye!